Do it. What are we going to do? When are we going to do it? Or we could go and vote early on April 19th and then come out to the polls and wear very tricky t-shirts like Republicans against the amendment. Is anybody with me?
My name is Deborah Butler, and I am running for Senate District number 9. And thankfully, I do not have a primary. I don't know if everybody's scared of me or what, but it works for me.
Hopefully they are.
Folks, you know, over the last 4 years, people have heard me say this already on the campaign trail. We've been talking an awful lot about what's far left and what is very far right. And consequently, there is gridlock in Raleigh like we've never seen before. If a Democrat has a good idea, the Republicans are absolutely not going to get behind it come hell or high water. It's just paralyzed there and not a lot is going on. You know, a whole group of freshmen came under the guise of job creation, as so many people have said. And as far as I can tell, not one piece of economic development legislation has been proposed, certainly not by our sitting senator, who called himself the job senator. Instead, they've just marched lock, stock, and barrel with the folks from Washington to pursue a social agenda. And it's painfully obvious. And this amendment is a classic example of what we're talking about.
We need to be excited and incited about this amendment in this state before it happens, before it gets voted into our state constitution. It will be very difficult to get it out of the Constitution once that happens. When the rights and minorities are put up for a vote by the majority, we lose every single time, except this time. We just want to call this amendment what it is. This is just pure hatred. This does nothing to preserve marriage, which is how it's going to be worded on the ballot on May 8th. Do you support the preserving marriage, something like that? Most people are going to check yes. Yeah, that sounds like a great idea. I want to preserve marriage. That's not what it does. I mean, if a politician or a legislator were here, they would tell you if you want to preserve marriage, you start to limit things like divorce, or you start to make people have counseling before getting married and talk about things. Those are the things how you legislate protecting marriage, not in putting hate into the Constitution for people that don't even enjoy the right to marry as it is. This is a completely unnecessary amendment if that's what they're trying to do. It's already illegal in North Carolina for same-sex couples to enter into marriage or any sort of civil union. It's already illegal.
In a time when too much of the political discourse in this country has devolved into violent, divisive rhetoric or a contest to see who can shout the loudest the longest, Jen and the Race to the Ballot team has fostered a climate of honest, respectful discussion at every stop on the tour. The political realm can be a scary place, especially with all the iniquities that currently exist in regards to access and recognition. By making this trek across the state and respectfully involving such a wonderfully diverse cross-section of North Carolinians, Jen and her team have not only provided a wealth of information on the harms of Amendment 1, but have also been a tremendous source of inspiration for myself and many others to take up the fight against this malicious and discriminatory legislation. Seeing the footage of the interactions at various stops fills me with hope that we can come together to defeat Amendment 1 and continue this dialogue so that perhaps one day we can achieve the true equality that everyone deserves, regardless of faith, orientation, or affiliation. Stand up and be counted on May 8th. 322 miles against Amendment 1 is a long way in the right direction, but we still have a long way to go. I'd like to say thank you to Jen Jones and the Race to the Ballot team, to TR and Wilmington Pride, and thank you. You're a beautiful audience. Thanks for coming out.
So we need everyone here today to not only vote, but to volunteer to get the word out. We have lots of different opportunities that people can help with, whether it's registering people to vote here today, whether it's signing up to go to polls in May and actually talk to people about what's happening. Because a lot of people just don't know what's happening. They don't know what's going on. They don't know how this is going to be so damaging to not only our community, but unmarried couples and civil unions.
economic development. What kind of company in their right mind would want to come to a state that isn't accepting of everyone? You know, if I had a company in California or Iowa or anywhere, why would I want to come to North Carolina? You know, these folks came in, they have their majority in office. You know, where is this job creation? Well, how is this going to create more jobs? It makes no sense whatsoever.
What was the first state that legalized same-sex marriage? Massachusetts. What state in the Union has the lowest divorce rate right now? Massachusetts. So it seems to me that the evidence would say that if I wanted to preserve marriages, I would allow same-sex marriage. But this bill isn't about same-sex marriage. It's about saying who can be married, whose relationship before the eyes of the state can be recognized, who has rights, who does not. My congregation and my faith, we believe in standing on the side of love. We believe that when two adults come into loving relationship as equals, that our God smiles.
Yes.
Yeah. Because in the end, we can have a lot of things and say a lot of things about God, but in the end, God is love. That I know. So I think it's great that Jen is going to run across the state. That's a long way to go. And God bless those young people who can do it. But you don't have to run across the state to make a stand. Walk, roll, call. Not just your legislators. Talk to your friends. Tell them stories. Let them know that what this is about hate. Because that's how we will win. And I believe to win this state, we need to win Wilmington. Because everybody's looking at the big cities and like Charlotte and Raleigh, but you know where it's really done? It's done in places like Wilmington, like Greenville, like Clinton, like Kinston, like Leland. This is where the work really gets done. This is where we will win or lose this election. But it means that we cannot stay home. We can't let our friends stay home. We have to walk, run, talk, spread the word. Have a conversation with your neighbor. If each of us talk to 5 of our neighbors, I bet you 5 of those neighbors will vote no, because we'll tell them our stories. We'll tell them stories like when my partner and I first got down here, we bought a house. We bought a house together, but under this new law, should something happen, neither one of us could legally protect each other. Tell them those stories. Tell them stories of people being in a hospital. Who can they visit? Tell them those stories. Because when you tell people stories, when you tell them, this is not about some idea of marriage. This is about real people. Well, then their hearts get changed. And when their hearts get changed, their votes get changed, and the next thing you know, this amendment fails.
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Woo!
Yeah.
So stand on the side of love, walk on the side of love, run on the side of love, roll on the side of love, talk to people let them know that Wilmington will stand up and say, we stand on the side of love.
Amen.
You know, if you're not registered to vote, please take advantage of the voter registration table. You know, if you're new to town, you don't have to have changed your address yet. There's one-stop voting. There's same-day voting. You know, there's so many things you can do. Don't feel as though you can't vote. Because believe it or not, every single vote does count. And if for some reason this horrific amendment were to pass May the 8th, we'd have no one but ourselves to blame.
I grew up in the Roman Catholic Church, and I remember God created everybody equal. So I can't understand why a legislator can say, I've decided not to stand you, and now I'm going to exclude you in some way. This is a ridiculous amendment. I hope you get excited about actually going out, and it's not just you voting, which is also incredibly important, but telling other people that this has nothing to do about preserving marriage. This is purely hate being codified into our state constitution. Thanks.
It discriminates against people in a way that is palpable, meaningful, real, hurtful, despicable. And our senator from this region is at the tip of the spearhead of this movement. So, a big fat boo is right. So, if you think that the amendment is wrong, and I know that you do or you wouldn't be here, you must get out and vote, certainly in May, and then you got to follow that up in November. I was talking with the Senate Minority Leader a couple of days ago. We spent 2 hours bemoaning the fact of the damage that has been done in Raleigh thus far. North Carolina now ranks 49th out of 50 states in education funding per pupil. I never thought in my lifetime I would say that Georgia was progressive, and North Carolina is not. 50 companies in North Carolina offer same-sex benefits to partners. What are they going to do? What are they going to do if this horrific measure passes? I'm sure they're going to make as much effort to leave as they can, because these companies are the ones that prefer talent and intellect and ingenuity instead of what people are doing in their private bedroom. So those are the companies that seek talent, and talent will be leaving, and they're going to be following them. So it's a tragedy. It cannot pass. We must get out there and get behind this. As so many have said before, please take 4 or 5 friends to the polls with you. I know that that's a burden. It feels like a burden. But the result, if this passes, is going to be cataclysmic. North Carolina is almost unrecognizable from what it was 10 years ago. I'm not overstating things. The Senate Minority Leader said, Deb, if we don't get rid of these yahoos, I can't imagine what damage they can do in the next 2 years. We've got to change the balance of power to the thoughtful, careful, statesman-like position that North Carolina used to have.
Yes!
We can't do it. We can't do it. A recent poll shows that over 43% of the people polled are looking for a change yet again. So we're seeing a pendulum swing because these folks have overreached. It's like Senator Nesbitt told me, he said, God, they've offended everybody. They've offended women. They've offended African Americans. They've offended the gay folks. They've offended just about everybody. They've overreached. They've pursued this social agenda in contradiction of their message when they were going there. And it's time to get rid of them. Get rid of them.
What are we going to do? When are we going to do it? Or we could go and vote early on April 19th, and then come out to the polls and wear very tricky t-shirts like Republicans against the amendment. Is anybody with me? Are you